Two-tone is a music genre created in Coventry in the late 1970s by fusing elements of punk rock and ska music together.
A guy called Jerry Dammers, he's the guy that came up with this idea. He wanted to fuse reggae with punk. Unfortunately, that didn't really work, but when he sped everything up to ska, suddenly the speeds met each other, and he created this fantastic brand which we know today as Two-Tone Records. Punk had come and gone, and punk had a big mouth, but it didn't have a lot to say, whereas what followed was two-tone, and that had a lot to say. It was music for the feet and the head. You could dance to it, and you could also listen to it, take it in.
At the time, Coventry was a very multicultural society with a strong Caribbean community. This new form of music brought communities together for the first time.
So is the black and white symbolic of something? What is that?
It was evident on all the graphics on the records and everything, and it was evident in the band because the band were a multicultural band, black and white guys, singing this black and white stuff. It was a fusion of black and white music.
Listen, we're going to play the #1 from these dizzy heights. It's the Specials.
Jerry Dammers, a two-tone pioneer, went on to form the Specials, probably the best known of the two-tone bands, with his college friend Horace Panter. The movement was branded with the iconic artwork of the black and white squares and the image of Walt Jabsco.
I think it was bringing in almost like the mod feel, because there was a bit of a mod element to the whole thing as well.
Walt Jabsco was a fictional character based on a photo of Peter Tosh, one of the main members of the Wailers, alongside Bob Marley. The imagery of the band was to become almost as famous as the music itself.
Well, this was it. This is the style as well. It just wasn't about music, it was the whole thing.
For 3 years, two-tone was at the forefront of the UK music industry, affecting culture, fashion and politics as well.
I remember the Specials catching a moment with Ghost Town that probably more perfectly than any other record I can remember, in terms of just absolutely summing up the time it was made.
The early 80s were a time of great unrest in Britain.
It was the first year of Thatcherism, and that record just caught what it was like for young people, didn't it, really? Because the last line of the record is the people getting angry.
Yeah.
And literally, like 2 weeks later, there were riots.
And this wasn't the only political movement Jerry Dammers was involved in.
Jerry Dammers also went on to write one of the few songs I can think of that really helped to change the world, didn't he?
Yeah, possibly the greatest protest song ever.
Yeah.
What was that?
Free Nelson Mandela.
Oh, great, so yeah.
Yeah.
Well done.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Other famous bands that came up through the two-tone label were Madness, The Beat and Selector. Even today, two-tone's influence lives on in modern artists.
I remember seeing the Specials at Glastonbury about 2 or 3 years ago, and not only were they great, but Lily Allen was on with them as a guest, so there's a kind of cross-generational thing going on there.
The museum is full of original artefacts for Steve and Christina to discover, including the master tape from the Specials' first album and a replica of Jerry Dammers' bedroom. Ooh-ah.
Oh, God! Look, if I can move the marathon bar here.
4p, look,
4p. But what you have here is letter-set. This is how people made posters. If you were in a band and you wanted to make a poster, you couldn't just typeset it. You had to buy these.
Oh, wow.
I once saw a very early poster for The Cure in Reigate that I reckon was hand letter-setted by Robert Smith. And I wish I'd peeled it off the wall and kept it.
Oh.
Because then you could have told me how much it was worth.
So does this take you back to being a teenager?
It does, actually.
I
had friends whose bedrooms didn't look at all unlike this. And the trouble is, it's making me feel I ought to be revising. That's the overwhelming feeling that I'm getting. I need to do some geography.
You will start panicking. Quick,
Yeah.
let's go, stop revising.